Hello, my beautiful people. It's Nicole here. How are you guys today? Oh my goodness. In full disclosure, I am exhausted. When you have 5 children and it is the holiday season and you have the fabuloso children that I have, which pretty much all of us have these days, who have talents and activities and things they are involved in. This time of year is concert time and recital time, and for my 2 dancers, nutcracker time. And honestly, I freaking love it. I love it. It's so exciting. It's so fun. But, oh my goodness, I'm exhausted. And I've had a different obligation every night. So I'm actually really psyched to just sit here and talk to you guys for a little while. So just a few housekeeping items first, because I always forget to say this. And I am not an experienced podcaster yet. So I am new at this and I'm trying to figure it out as I go along. And so what I've understood by listening to other podcasts and by just kind of thinking logically is I have to do the housekeeping stuff at the beginning. I've always been super cringy about selling myself in any way, shape, or form, which is probably why, however many years, 6 to 10 years into taking my information rather public, I still don't have that wide of a reach because I don't sell myself. I don't do enough social media anyway, blah, blah, blah. That's my stuff. But I do need to. I need to start, and I've been told by very wise people that that's the way you get out there in this world. So the first thing I'm going to say to you beautiful people who sit here and listen to my words and tell me online how much they mean to you, I need you to take a second and I need you to rate and review this podcast. I get thousands of listens on this podcast, like many thousands. And I have, something like 27 ratings on iTunes. And they're all 5 stars, so thank you, my 27 out there. You know who you are. But I would really appreciate it if every person listening would just take a second. I totally understand how it's really hard even to take a second to figure out how to rate and review a podcast. But as far as I know, it's not that hard. Even if you are not an Apple user, I do believe you can go to iTunes. Maybe you can't. All right, all the apples out there, all the apples, please rate and review the podcast on iTunes. And I'm also going to make sure to look into getting a wider reach. I know that people who have non-Apple devices can listen to my audio boom links, but I think there's other platforms I need to look into. But anyway, this is going to be a little all over the place. I am full on exhausted, and it is 9:00 at night when I'm recording this after a day of days. But so please rate and review the podcast, because it really means a lot to me, and because really, honestly, the only thing that matters to me is healing you. I know that my work can heal you. I'm absolutely 100% positive, and I guess podcasts don't get a lot of attention or promotion unless they get a lot of rates and reviews. So, all right, I'm done with that one. Next, when people hear this podcast, I get a lot of private messages on Facebook. How can I find you? How can I find your stuff? Because maybe this is the first time they're hearing me speak. And I just honestly do not have time to answer every single one of these separately. So I'm going to try to do it here, which is I'm going to give you my laundry list of ways to find me if you're interested in the work that I do. And if you are struggling with any chronic pain or condition, we're soon going to get to the topic of today's podcast, which is chronic pain is definitely and positively not just about pain. And I'm going to explain that in detail in a few minutes. But if you are suffering in any way with anything chronic, something that has a diagnosis but not a cure, something that you can only hope to manage, and really even using the word manage is generous because it's really hard to even manage day to day, please take a look at some of these links. The first one is my website, thecureforchronicpain.com. I have an online course on the website, which I get amazing reviews of. And I am not saying that out of grandiosity. It's true. I just get hundreds of emails about how it's changed people's lives. And that's called Freedom from Chronic Pain. And it is on my website. It is a tab on my website that says take the course. You can also get your first lesson for free on the homepage of my website. You just have to enter your email and it will get sent to you. So there is that. There's also my book, which is called The Meaning of Truth. It's available on Amazon.com. I think the easiest way to get to it is just search my name, Nicole Sachs. Of course, you could also search The Meaning of Truth. also happens to be a really old and famous book by William James, who is a really fantastic philosopher. I did not know that when I penned the title, but now I do, and also feel very grateful that that serendipitously happened because I relate very much to his work. But anyway, you want to pick The Meaning of Truth by Nicole Sachs if you want to get my book. Also, I have a YouTube channel. It is the same name as this podcast, The Cure for Chronic Pain. It is on YouTube. If you search that, if you search me, you're going to find it. Of course, everything on YouTube is free, and I go back there as often as possible. I am really overdue in making another YouTube video, but tomorrow I am getting my hair cut and colored, so maybe I'm going to show up then. It's always nice when my hair looks good. Okay, so that is my YouTube channel, and finally, I have a Facebook group, a closed Facebook group. It is called JOURNALSPEAK with Nicole Sachs, LCSW. It is on Facebook. It is a closed group. We're a large community, over 1,000 members already. However, it is totally and completely private, which means that the only people that see the posts are the members of the group. And so if you are on Facebook and you have a lot of family and friends that are on your friend list, if you join my group, first of all, you have to ask to be joined. I'm the only moderator. I will approve you. And then you can say anything you want. Nobody sees your post except the members of the group. And I will tell you, and anyone out there who's a member of the group is definitely nodding their head right now, such a lovely community, such a great group of people who are just here to support each other, just here to give advice, give guidance, and I'm very grateful for everybody who joins and participates and helps each other out. It's really great because especially this time of year, I don't have time to be on there. I read everything, but I don't have time to comment nearly as much as I'd like to. And I just am always amazed that I will click on the website, on the YouTube, on the Facebook group. I told you I'm tired. I'll click on the Facebook group and there'll be a question that was asked 2 hours ago. And there'll be 27 comments of people giving amazing experience, strength, and hope. So I am really grateful for that. So thank you. If you're one of those people that's doing that, from my heart to you, I really appreciate it. Okay, that is the housekeeping for today. Check, done. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about what it means to say chronic pain is not just about pain. So when I first learned about Dr. Sarno, as many of you know, I had severe acute back pain. And when I got my MRI, I found out that I had degenerative spondylolisthesis, which is a condition of the lower spine. I still have that picture that comes up if you were to take an MRI of me, but I have absolutely no back pain and haven't for many, many, many years. And so when I first met Dr. Sarno, I thought his work was about back pain, which of course is not unreasonable to think because his first book is Mind Over Back Pain and his second book is Healing Back Pain. But over the years, I've found that it's a great barrier to healing for people when they're only thinking about chronic pain. First of all, the very basics, if they're only thinking that his work is about back pain or my work is about helping people with back pain, because that's just the beginning. That just scratches the surface. So first thing for you guys to understand is that this work is not just about back pain. Everything I teach, everything that I guide you through, I lead you through, I nurture you through, will heal any chronic condition, and I'm going to get to why in a minute. So the next thing that people are confused about, and I have to take a great deal of responsibility for that, is that my work is only about chronic pain. Why do I have to take responsibility for that? Because my whole brand is called The Cure for Chronic Pain. The reason that it's called that, shout out to my dear friend Robin, because when I was trying to name my brand, I was going back and forth with all sorts of stuff, and I was like, Robin, I have the cure for chronic pain. I am dying to spread this message. I can't believe it. I'm sitting on the cure for chronic pain. And she goes, Nicole, you have the cure for chronic pain. That should be the name. And she was absolutely right. And I am still tremendously in favor of the name, but I feel the need to make an addendum to that for people who are listening, because it's not just about what people define as pain. Now, if we're getting honest, anything that causes your life to be limited and small and terrifying is pain. And most conditions, even though they're considered chronic illness, bring a lot of physical pain and discomfort. But what I found in my travels is that people discount this work for themselves if they're not actually dealing with chronic pain. Like, for example, if they're not dealing with back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, foot pain, or if they're not dealing with migraines, or if they're not dealing with fibromyalgia, all of which are considered pretty, ubiquitously pain. But say, for example, they're dealing with an autoimmune condition. I have many clients who have had, in addition to other diagnoses, an autoimmune condition, something like lupus or Crohn's disease or MS or there's so many different autoimmune diseases that I've dealt with. Some of them are more obscure, involving different areas of the body. But in any case, what I have found in working with these patients, I could never and would never claim to be able to cure an autoimmune condition, meaning like I can't cure MS, just like I can't take my spine and somehow magically make it not look all jacked in an MRI. However, I do have many patients that have had a diagnosis of an autoimmune condition, and after doing this work exactly, as I teach them and for whatever period of time is necessary for their nervous system to chill out and to go into rest and repair, that they don't have the symptoms of their autoimmune condition anymore. They just go symptom-free. I have one patient who had lupus and was really struggling with a lot of symptoms of lupus, and I think it's been like 4 or 5 years since she's had a symptom. So, I can't make any promises in any single case, but what I'm trying to say is this work affects everything. So for us to limit it to what is commonly understood as chronic pain, I think does us all a disservice. And so I want to then talk about some other things that are considered under the umbrella of what I call chronic pain, or what we could use Dr. Sarno's terminology of TMS. Skin disorders. I have people in my practice who have cured their acne, who have cured their severe ingrown hairs on their bikini area. That sounds crazy, but I've had clients who've had very, very severe condition of ingrown hairs on their bikini area that just after they do the work, it stops happening. And different seasonal allergies. I have had clients who had years of seasonal allergies that just always assumed that that was just the reality. In fact, last week on the podcast, I interviewed Mickey, who brought that up for the first time. And to be honest, I worked with her for several years, but we never discussed her seasonal allergies because she had gotten rid of them before we started working together, just by understanding Sarno's work. But that is, I've heard about that many times. In fact, there was a dermatologist with whom I used to sit on the Sarno panel at NYU when we were doing the alumni panel back in the early 2000s. And his first thing he always talked about was that he had debilitating seasonal allergies. And by doing Dr. Sarno's work, those were now completely gone. So that's another chronic condition that falls under the umbrella of the work that I do. So anything that chronic fatigue syndrome. Now, there's a lot of debate over chronic fatigue syndrome because I know it is autoimmune. I know that there is a lot of evidence and a lot of severe symptoms. However, it has been reported to me many times over. Because I have people who write me from all over the world who have found my work either online or through my book or through a doctor that was associated with a doctor in Sarno's network and have found my work and have told me, I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome and I don't have the symptoms of it anymore. And I need you guys to understand this from my heart. And anybody who knows me knows that this stuff comes from my heart. Hold on, I have to drink. Need a little water. I'm not saying that your symptoms, your disease is not real. I am not stealing from your diagnosis. I am not telling you that you don't have chronic fatigue syndrome or you don't have an autoimmune condition or your seasonal allergies aren't real. Please, if you hear anything, hear that. What I'm saying is our body is a miracle. Our brain is a miracle we do not understand. Even the top neuroscientists in the world would tell you we don't understand 100% of the functioning of the human brain. We don't understand why certain things are triggered by other things. We don't yet understand. We're in 2018. We're doing the best we can with what we've got. But there is a process by which, and I will stake my life on this, that when we have repressed emotions that are festering in our subconscious that we have not properly excavated and come to peace with, our nervous system is alerted in the same way that fight or flight has gone on since primitive man. Our brainstem and our reptilian brain signal a danger that the repressed emotions are a greater predator than the physical chronic condition you are suffering with. Either that could be back pain, it could be migraines, it could be irritable bowel syndrome, it could be fibromyalgia, it could be the symptoms that are flaring up more than they need to for an autoimmune condition, it could be eczema, it could be psoriasis, any number of things. And if you're actually interested in a comprehensive list of what I've treated personally, I believe that's available on the second tab on my website. And now I'm totally spacing on what exactly it is called, but it's there. So go and check it out. I have a list. I think it's under Do You Qualify? So basically, there are many, many, many disorders and symptoms associated with different diagnoses that are triggered by this generalized panic, this cortisol flooding of our brain and our nervous system that happens when when it is looking to protect us from a predator. And you have to understand that the most important function of our nervous system is to keep us alive, because if you're not alive, it super doesn't matter how bad your migraines are. And so if the primary purpose of our brain and our nervous system is to keep us alive, and if by some phenomenon in 2018, with the constant onslaught of pressure and stress and how we overwhelm ourselves with packing in everything in our lives, if it is possible that we have not evolved yet, I'm trying to help us evolve, but maybe we haven't evolved yet to understand that is not that stress and that anger and that sadness and that grief and that rage that are accompanied with the things that make up our life, our daily life, our childhood memories, our trauma. If we don't yet understand that feeling and grappling with those feelings and being able to look them in the eye is not a greater predator than our physical symptoms that keep us small and safe and limiting our lives, until we evolve that our fight or flight response chooses the pain over dealing with those feelings, we are not going to experience relief from chronic pain in this society. And so the only way you can evolve yourself, and let me tell you something, I have evolved myself. I no longer get chronic pain from the repressed emotions. I still feel twinges of pain, but I don't get chronic pain, because chronic pain is an epidemic of fear. And when I say chronic pain, once again, I mean chronic symptoms of anything. I've experienced almost every symptom I've ever treated, because that's the beauty of being a helping professional. We tend to somaticize that which we see, but it doesn't scare me. I don't care. And when I say I don't care, obviously I care how I feel, but I don't get all, worried about it, all scared, all panicked. I don't ruminate about it. Why? Because I know I'm just feeling a feeling, and feelings are not facts. They seem like they are, but I promise you, a feeling is not a fact. A feeling simply needs to be sat with and acknowledged, and I can teach you how to do that. And then little by slowly, and it takes a little while sometimes, because you have been really nervous for a really long time. Your neural pathways in your brain are wired for stress. Everybody's are. Modern society it sets us up. It doesn't really allow for anything else. And so little by slowly, you do the JOURNALSPEAK work, which there's many places for you to find resources about this in the links that I've given you prior to this. And little by little, you have these moments. Maybe you start feeling rage. Maybe you say something impolite in your JOURNALSPEAK and you're like, oh my goodness, I've never said that before. Maybe you cry hysterically over something that you haven't cried about in 20 years. Maybe you write a letter you'll never send to your brother or to your mom or to God or to whomever and say, I need to say this. I need to be impolite. And nobody sees it but you. Nobody gets hurt. You win every argument. You tell that person exactly what's going on. And all of a sudden, little by little, that fight or flight response that has been kicked up time and time and time again for having to repress these very natural consequences of being a human being, stop firing. So you got 5 migraines last month and you're doing the work and it's been 3 weeks and you're like, oh, holy shit, I haven't had a migraine. That is what starts happening. And this is the thing that I'm going to implore you to do when that starts happening. I'm going to implore you to believe it. You're going to be backing down your driveway and you're going to stick your arm on the passenger seat and turn your neck to look down the driveway. And you're going to get halfway down the driveway before you realize that your neck isn't killing you. Believe it. Believe it. Invite in your healing. That's what's starting to happen to you. And then little by little by little, you're just not scared anymore. It's amazing, and it happens the same way every single time. I have had super low bottom cases. I've had clients who were in wheelchairs who had lived that way for years that now are up and about and playing golf and living their lives, and it's like a complete distant memory for them. I have one client who I'm hoping to get on the pod. I call her Olivia in my writing, who was hospitalized in and out of hospitals for over a year with severe head and facial pain, who is now just, living her life in many different fantastic ways and a super top professional in her field, and she has absolutely no pain. I have lower bottom cases of just people who were like, I didn't have joy in my life because I was always worried about my chronic this or that. Or I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition and it consumed me all the time and I was having flare-ups all the time. And now they've done the work and they're like, I don't know, sometimes it scares me, knock on wood, jinx, jinx, jinx. I don't have symptoms. I haven't had symptoms for 6 months. I haven't had symptoms for a year. And I say, believe it. You are healing. You are chilling out. You are not always terrified, so your body is not like a pinball machine where you pull back that little ball and it's pinging, headache, shoulder pain, stomach pain, skin disorders, kicking up my autoimmune stuff, blah, blah, blah. That's not happening to you anymore because you're not in a constant state of terror. And if you don't know that you're in a constant state of terror, I'm here to tell you, you probably are, because we all kind of are. I mean, I talk a lot about parenting because you guys all know I live for my kids, and just having children, for me at least, the kind of mom I am or whatever, just having children for me is literally like a panic constantly. It's just, I'm always worried, like, are they happy enough? Are they comfortable enough? Are they going to get sick? Are they going to get the right part in the play? Are they going to feel good about themselves? Are their friends going to be nice to them? Are they going to get good grades? Are they going to get into college? Like, I'm susceptible to that crap. I will sit and think about it. And as soon as I catch myself thinking about it, I'll say, oh man, you better go journal speak about that because you're going to get a headache later if you don't stop it. But I don't get terrified. I just say, we live in a mind-body system. We live in a mind-body system. Okay, so what I'm telling you right now is just a fact. It's a fact. I am not afraid to be incredibly confident about this. We live in a mind-body system. No one taught you that. You were told poor information when you were told that your mind is your emotions and it's much more hippy-dippy and it's much more woo-woo and that's your mind, and then your body is solid. It's your body. If it's hurting, take a pill. If it's hurting, go get a massage. If it's hurting, go to a doctor. That's what you were taught. It's what I was taught. It's what we were all taught. I'm going to tell you something. That's not true. Period. The end. We live in a mind-body system, and sometimes we feel things in our hearts, and when our hearts get overwhelmed and overloaded and it spills over, sometimes we feel things in our bodies, and that is 100% what's happening to you, whomever you are. So when you have too much unresolved grief or unresolved trauma or sadness or fear, or you're wired for anxiety. I'm wired for anxiety. I'm definitely a naturally anxious person, and I see it in a couple of my kids. I know that it's one of the genetic characteristics of being me. And so I'm sensitive to getting, all worried about something or to pre-grieve a situation that hasn't even gone wrong yet. But I just know that about myself. And sometimes I feel that in my heart. And sometimes when I get really overwhelmed, I feel it in my hip, or in my shin splint, or in my head, or in my stomach. But whatever. You would never wake up in the morning and say, I am not going to feel sad today. Definitely not. But I'll tell you, a lot of you wake up in the morning and say, oh God, I'm not going to feel back pain today, or I don't want to feel back pain today, or if I feel back pain today, that's unacceptable to me. Hello, it's just a feeling. Sometimes you feel things in your heart and sometimes you feel things in your body. It is the state of being alive. And as soon as people recognize that and understand that an emotional exercise can literally cure a physical condition, can lead the symptoms of a physical condition to simply no longer happen, they give themselves the gift of this work. And so that is just like a really, really big gold nugget for you to take away from this conversation, because that is what is happening. And if you can embrace that, and if you can choose to believe that, then you are on a really good path. What did Wayne Dyer say? If you believe it, you'll see it. So many different philosophies out there talk about the fact that your perception is your reality. If you think you're beautiful and you're walking down the street, swinging your hair, looking around, chin up, shoulders back, guess what? You're beautiful. There is no other reality except your perception. And so if you perceive yourself to be in danger, or other than, or less than, or not enough, or still hurting from something that you haven't quite dealt with, or still hurting from something that you think you've dealt with, but the reality is you haven't, that's your reality. That's your life. That's the truth for you. So I'm looking to invite you to have more than that, because that's not enough for me. I want you vibrant. I want to raise the consciousness of every single person who listens to my voice and to say, you are worthy of so much more. There is so much exciting, beautiful light that can come from you and that you can get from other people if you just stop being so afraid, and my work can teach you how to stop being so afraid. Because I had a colleague who used to say this a lot, which is, this work is just going into your darkest room and turning on the light. And the way I envision his words are not just turning on the light, but walking into my darkest room, okay, with so much love for myself, so much acceptance, so much compassion for myself, because the people who have hurt me did not mean to hurt me. And even if they did seem like they meant to hurt me, they were so messed up themselves, right? So that's how I feel. So I walk into that dark room and I turn on that bright light and I sit down in the middle of that room and I look. I look at the walls. I look at the cracks in the walls. I look at the pictures hanging on the walls and what they mean to me. And sometimes I feel sad, or sometimes I cry, or sometimes I feel angry and I just need to get that out in my journal speak. But I sit with it for as long as I need to until I come to a place of, I get it. That's what happened, or that's what that person was going through. And it doesn't mean you have to forgive them, even though I'm a big believer in forgiveness, because I do believe that forgiveness is for you, okay? You are not helping out that other person by forgiving them. I often say, acid does more damage to the vessel in which it is stored than that on which it is poured. So you are the holder, you are the container for the acid that is your anger and your rage, and it is burning through you, and that person you hate probably doesn't ever think about it. So I do feel that way about forgiveness, but even if you're not ready, even if this is triggering you and you're like, I'm not forgiving him, no freaking way, that's fine, because you can sit with this feeling until you find a place of acceptance. And I'm going to tell you straight up, acceptance is the answer to all your problems today. Acceptance and surrender. Wave your white flag and take a breath, because your life is waiting for you. And that's what I have to say today. So, my dear friends, today is, not today, but this is the week before Christmas. Actually, it's 2 weeks before Christmas, but this is the week before my Christmas season is really starting with stuff with my kids. And so it's going to get really hectic, but I'm still going to find a way to drop a podcast every Friday. That is my goal. And I just want you guys to know that I come with tremendous love. I come with belief in you that you can do this work for yourself. And I really, really hope you give yourself the gift of being curious. And with that, this has been the Cure for Chronic Pain, parentheses, and everything else, unparentheses, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.